All right, let's talk USC Trojans football. Spring ball has started a little bit. We're trying to see what this Trojans team is going to look like going into 2024. Obviously, big changes are needed. A lot of offensive talent, obviously, is leaving, but a big question mark is obviously with the defensive side of the ball. But it looks like we've got some good news on that front. Let's go into the report, and then we'll talk about it more on the other side. This is according to The Athletic. In the past 2 years, when the Trojans finished stretching, the offense and defense split into their position groups on different parts of two practice fields. When that happened, Coach Lincoln Riley typically spent the time with the quarterbacks and skill players. But when the offense and defense split on Tuesday during spring ball, Riley was standing next to defensive analyst Taylor Mays watching the defensive backs go through their drills. A few minutes later, he walked over to Sean Newa's drills with the defensive ends. So obviously, renewed emphasis or new emphasis, I should say, on the defensive side of the ball. By the way, blast from the past, name like Taylor Mays, great to see him back in USC. I know he's come back over the past couple of years. Great to see his name. Great USC safety. Miles, I'm curious to see what I'm kind of curious to hear, what your thoughts are on this and what it means for the USC defense. But first, Trojan fans in the comment section below, as we're getting ready for the regular season, like we're going through spring ball, so regular season is gonna get here before we know it. Who's the one guy you're expecting to break out this season for USC? Is it the new quarterback? Is it a defensive player? Whatever it may be, give us your breakout candidate for the USC Trojans in the comment section below. But Miles, give me your thoughts on this change in strategy by Lincoln Riley and what it means for USC going forward.
Yeah, I think this is going to be really interesting to see how this all plays out because Lincoln Riley has always been over the quarterbacks, skill position players, just almost excessively all the time. And that's why they've been so good. That's why he's been able to develop guys so much. But now that he has officially handed over the position to Luke Ward, I think this is going to be a big move because you got two guys at the quarterback position. We all are leaning a little bit towards Miller Moss, but Mayava, the transfer from UNLV, also is another guy at the quarterback position. So maybe a little bit of a competition there, but we all kind of are leaning a little bit towards a guy like Miller Moss. So he's taking that all out of the position, handing it over to Luke Ward, where he says, listen, I am focusing on this defense. I know the offense is going to be good. I have good offensive game plans. We have good offense skill positions. I feel comfortable here. I want to be able to devote a lot of my time to the defensive side of the ball. And this is something we have, like they said in the article, this is something he has not done the last few years when he is at Southern Cal. This is something that's a little bit unprecedented for Lincoln Riley to just take a step back and say, hey, I'm going to give up my offensive duties for spring practice, not all the season, of course, but I'm going to focus on the defensive side of the ball, make sure my guys who I've put in place, which there's a very impressive new coaching staff on the defensive side of the ball as well. Deonathan Lynn seems like a great defensive coordinator, but he's just devoting so much time to defense. I personally am expecting to see a huge turnaround on the defensive side of the ball just because the amount of dedication and time, effort, and resources he already seems to be putting into it.
Yeah, so there's a old saying from management guru, management expert Peter Drucker, right? And he said, "What gets measured gets managed." And basically, what that means is the leader of any organization, whether it's a business, football team, church, nonprofit, whatever, what they focus on is what's going to get improved, right? The amount of attention the top guy brings to any sector, any region of any organization, where they turn their focus on, that's where people are going to step up and put their focus on as well. So again, Lincoln Riley, obviously an offensive guy, much more comfortable dealing with the offensive side of the football. Just by turning his focus during practice, during drills, during individual to the defensive side of the ball will allow the coaches around him. There'll be some pressure there, but it will give them also the support, the comfort they need and want, saying, hey, listen, the head man's behind me. He knows this is important. Because look, when I played college football, and again, I didn't play USC level, I played D1 AA, old FCS level, right? It was the exact kind of like how it was described there. The offensive, if the head coach was offensive, he went to the offensive side, the skill position there on the quarterbacks, didn't say a word to the defense. If the head coach was a defensive guy, he spent all his individual teamwork, team drill, stuff like that, scrimmage periods with the defense, kind of left the offense do their own thing, right? There was a clear division. And that really hurt the opposing side of the football a lot of the time, right? When we had an offensive head coach, the defense had some issues. When we had a defensive coach, sometimes the offense had some issues. Lincoln Riley very smartly is recognizing, if I turn my attention some to the defense, these coaches, these players will recognize that I've got their support. They'll also feel the pressure of the head coach on them, and they'll have to step up their game. And I think that's really important for US for USC going forward. Because I think it wasn't talent necessarily. I think obviously former defensive coordinator Alex Grinch was not a very good defensive coordinator, to be totally honest. But it wasn't talent that hurt USC. I think a lot of it was almost an expectation, right? It was almost like, hey, listen, we're going to have to win games 40-35 every single time. You don't want to have that expectation. You don't want to sit there and say, well, Lincoln Riley's offense will bail it out. No, you want Lincoln Riley, head coach, to come to your side of the ball and say, no, it's on you guys to hold these guys under 20. Right. It's on you. Don't think we're going to bail you out on offense. You got to figure it out on your own. And we're going to put the pressure on you. And I think USC has the talent and now better coaching to respond to that. I think this is kind of an under the radar, sneaky good decision by Lincoln Riley. And I'm happy he made this move.
Yeah, Nick, and you are always the one to take out the business professionals, use those analogies. So I'm gonna take a page out of your book, and it's an analogy that I've thought about, and I think it's very similar to Southern Cal. You think of Elon Musk and all of his businesses. You think about Lens, like you said, what gets measured is what is gonna be the thing that people are looking at as far as when it comes to companies. When Elon Musk was all about SpaceX, that's all you heard about in the news. The other companies kind of by the wayside. When he was at Tesla, Tesla was the focus. There are so many new exciting things coming out for Tesla. Then he moves on to Starlink. Starlink's the new thing, and that's what everyone's hearing about. You don't hear so much about Tesla and SpaceX anymore. Now you see him over at Twitter or X. Everything's about Twitter. Everything's about X. He's going to turn all that. The other companies you don't really hear so much about anymore. That reminds me of kind of an example of what Lincoln Riley's doing. All of these companies where offense, defense, special teams, he's all about offense for the last few years. All you heard about is the offense. Now it seems like he's moving over to the defense side of the ball to give them some love and really put the attention on the defense. Like you said, expectation or spotlight is on the defense. There was no spotlight on the defense the last few years at Southern Cal. Now, spotlight is being put on the defense so that expectation, like you said, is there. And just everybody's expecting, you've got all of the coaching resources now. You've got the head coach's attention now. You have to go out and perform. So that amps it up a little bit for the players. I really think this was a smart move by Lincoln Riley.